seconds.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
Welcome to Nevermind the Furthermore, your morning dose of creative conversation and coffee with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, Facebook famous YouTuber, and former mortician's assistant. Get ready to start your day off right.
And hello, everybody. How the heck are you? Having trouble getting my earpiece in. Oh, I love my ear monitors. Anyway, hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Last weekend. It was pretty good for me too, and we'll talk about it later on, but don't forget, stick around. We're going to have Daphne Lage come on here. She is an amazing cartoonist and writer and all-around sweet person, very talented lady. So we hope you'll have some great questions for her. But first thing we want to do is we want to somebody made a comment that we saw, and Ted Davies at Artistry. Good morning to you, Ted. Hope you had a great weekend. We want to say a very happy birthday to Damian Waldron, who turns, I believe, 17 today. And we hope that all is well with you, Damian. Happy birthday. Hope you have an incredible celebration, my friend. And you've certainly earned it. Damian, for those of you who don't know, is a very talented cartoonist. And I'm going to get my camera set straight here. A fantastic cartoonist and web designer and toy designer par excellence. He has done through O Toys some stuff for some like the Nebulizer and soon Memoirs of an Angel. But anyway, Damian, we want to wish you a happy birthday if you're watching. If you show up, we'll wish it to you all over again, okay? But anyway, thank you for joining us. So we hope you'll stick with us the next 90 minutes and pour some extra coffee, because, God, I need it after a weekend at DeadCon in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Congratulations to the organizers of that. Had a good time, and glad to hang out with some really cool people. We'll talk about more of that later, probably more on the Friday show, actually, because something's coming up on Wednesday we'll talk about later. And can't think of anything else except to say, if you're watching us on Facebook, please give this video a like if you enjoy any part of it. And also, if you're watching on Face or on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'm kind of knocked out because I came home last night and found out our conversation last week with Dan Doherty had over 1,000 views, and that is exciting. And Dan's a great guy, so if you haven't watched that show from last week, please check it out. All right. Anyway, let's get to your comments before Daphne gets here. Skunk Rocker, first in the gate at 9:39, says Brian has a guest on today, so let's remember he won't be as attentive towards comments as he usually would be. Let's do our best to not bombard him and keep our non-guest commentaries to a minimum. Well, if you have questions, Skunk, we would love to hear them, because Daphne's a wonderful lady, a wonderful creative talent. She and I met on the Sunday Funnies with Randy Zimmerman. Get well, Randy. And she appears frequently on the Indie Volt network of shows, and she's currently, and no surprise, who doesn't have a Kickstarter other than me? Oh, by the way, big hello to Ron Fitzgerald. Got to hang with him this weekend too. What a treat, my man. What a treat. But anyway, if you have questions, please give them to us, because Daphne would not mind, I'm sure. And yeah, I got so much done on my latest script. I think it's honestly the idea that I can actually film this one and it isn't too over the top in terms of effects and stunts that drives me to finish. Well, you start out with this, and here's what happens, Skunk. the law of attraction. You get this going, it's a successful at whatever level you choose it to be. And people will want to start tapping into your mojo there, and you'll start getting some help. And good point, Skunk Rocker. Carl Witzman, good to see you, my friend. Nice on the script. Totally agree. I wonder if anyone who is good at proofreading, and I know anyone who's good at proofreading and editing. Well, Carl does professional editing. I do editing. Cookie does editing. You can't spit without hitting an editor around here. And Sly Skunk Smile. Oh, yeah. Trying to seduce us. Keep going. Anyway, this is the place to ask. And doesn't Michaela Jade owe you a favor too? Yeah, that's true. Michaela has your wonderful trailer for her book. That's a good point, Carl. And good morning, Carl. And good morning, Donna, Carly, Clay, and good morning, and birthday boy. Good morning. I'm reporting live from the doctor's office. More on that later as it develops. I hope it's just a checkup, brother. But anyway, happy birthday to you, Damien. I hope it's a great one. And just my annual checkup, nothing bad. Okay, good. It's like, I'm gonna celebrate. I'm gonna have the doctor do the rubber glove. Oh yeah. This time he's using 2 fingers. Anyway. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, getting it out of my system for Daphne. Well, Daphne won't. It's not like she doesn't know me. Anyway, Damien, I hope everything okay, good. Just nothing bad. That's good. Annual checkups are good, Damien. What a birthday present to yourself. And go to get more coffee. I've got my second cup already waiting downstairs for the charming, delightful Cookie to come and give it to me. And I agree, Donna, I'll be getting my coffee soon, very, very soon. Oh, yeah. And, oh, no, where did you get that idea? And good morning again to Ted Davies Artistry. So good to see it. And check out Ted owns Tuesday mornings, and he also has the great show on Wednesday nights on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, The Truth Mongers with Glenn B. Fleming. All right. Everyone remember that when Daphne gets here, behave yourselves, act rational, not like the bunch of rabid weasels you normally are. She probably would be used to that. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of surprises for her this morning. And happy birthday, Damien. And rabid, I accept, but rabbit and weasel I accept, but not rabbit. Good morning, all. Brian must not have the coffee IV tap done before the show. Good morning, Brian. Hello, from the SO Small Press Publisher. Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. It was a long weekend. It really was. It was a great show. NedCon was a fantastic show. Wonderful venue, downtown Fort Wayne. It was just exhausting. And I'm finding that as I get old and more out of shape, that concrete floors and I don't agree too well. And I was pretty sore at the end of yesterday. And then we managed to get Cookie and I got everything out in one load, but and then we reloaded and we made a few stops along the way because we wanted to, but we found a great place for cheesesteak out of town that author Kenny Sills and I went to, and Cookie and I went to, and it was amazing, totally amazing food. And we found the alcohol store of the gods, Carl and Donna. It was terrific. We are trying now the only Dr. McGillicuddy's they didn't have was the cherry, and after hearing so much about that, I want that now. But anyway, enough about my alcoholic problems. And Carl Witzman is right. Please don't forget to like this show and to subscribe. Like I said the other day, we had over 1,000 views on the show we did at Dan Doherty. That was amazing. I expect no less today. And good morning to Grant Lankard. Grant, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. And everyone's saying hello to each other. BKM and the teenager. This will be an awesome show. Daphne does good show. And she's a fun lady. I think you'll like her. And just like we love Sarah. Mwah. Hope you enjoyed. I'm glad you enjoyed our photograph yesterday that we took at the show. Master Ron Fitzgerald and Vinny and myself. And we just got a comment up. Let's get it out of the way now. Everyone saying hello. Hello. Wednesday is Wonder Woman Day. Should be 3 free Wonder Woman comics at stores. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Glenn B. Fleming, how are you doing, my friend? Glenn is the author of the soon-to-be-released book on Jack Kirby and his visit with him. That is going to be fun. Brian and Daphne, a great way to start the day. Yeah, and I'll just leave. Daphne can do the show by herself. She's awesome. She is. And hey, everyone. And from Nessa and everyone saying hello and good morning. Who won the Skeleton Beauty contest? Nobody. Anyway, good to have you here, Ace. Good morning. And Damien is only 17. Well, I'm trying to make him sound older so he can get into the theaters a little more easily. And yes, damn it. This is how you win friends, right, Damien? And he's mocking me with his laughter. And it's not fair. Why is everyone younger than me successful? I don't know what to tell you, Skunk. I'm fairly successful, and I'm not. Boy, am I not younger than you. I'm almost 2 of you. And what, says Glenn B. Fleming? Outside of working 9-to-5 job could be better, always. And happy birthday to Damien from the lovely Sarah. And Historical Fencing Guild, Friday nights at 8 p.m. on this Rising Tide Network. Good to see you, Nick. Hope you're having a great morning. Hope your weekend went well. I'm older than you, Skunk. I'm successful. 17, 45. What's the difference? I'd say about 28 years there. And good one, Skunk. And oh, great, everyone's more successful than me. That's right. We just exist to twist the knife, but it is doable, Skunk. You can be successful too, and you're on your way. You're starting your screenplay. And Glenn mocks him with his laughter. And thank you for the birthday wishes, Damien. There's more to come. Happy birthday to you, brother. And Grant Laggard, hey guys, just remind you that Memoirs of the Morbid is a place where kicks get started. I'm experimenting with what the algorithms pick up or not. Well, you can, I don't think Facebook would be, terribly thrilled with you, but free beer and naked ladies. Hey, by the way, subscribe to Memoirs of the Morbid. I say it's worth trying. And let's see. And Sarah says, I'm surprised it was the first DeadCon. I think it probably got traction to bring in more people. So it'll probably get more traction to get people to go. Yeah, it will probably happen. But as it was an incredibly efficient convention as far as load in and load out, getting our crap inside and getting crap outside. It was really good. We had a good time. Danny Trejo is tiny. He is a tiny little thing. He's adorable. I saw him. He will actually walk by our booth, and I'm not sure he comes up too much far over my shoulder. I'm of average height, so. And everyone's saying good morning, and please check out Memoirs of the Morbid. I think it's going to be a close one. If you're not in a place where you can contribute financially, please mention it on social media. Yeah, if sometimes you're just not in a good place to, for whatever reason, to help support your friends and people in the community, but you can support them by just sharing their message, because maybe one of your friends would be interested, and tell them I'm in it. So that should help. And Sarah says, thank you for the pick yesterday. I hope you guys go back next year. I'll go as Pennywise. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. I bet you will, you horrible woman. You, there was someone who was a very, very realistic Pennywise from the new It movies. And he was trying to be nice. He was bringing a bowl of candy. Yeah, well, you'd take candy from Pennywise, wouldn't you? And he was offering it to this family, and 2 girls, 1 boy, and the boy and girl were just above walking age. And they saw Pennywise, and they lost their totally. And they were hiding behind their parents and screaming in terror. And then all of a sudden, one took off in one direction, the other took off in the other direction. I felt so bad for poor Pennywise, terrifying the children of DeadCon. And fortunately, he did it right outside my booth, so I was highly entertained. And speaking of highly entertaining, let's get this 2-shot ready here. And let's bring on the wonderful, the amazing Daphne Lage.
Oh, hello. But it would make sense for a Pennywise to be scaring children at a convention. I wouldn't expect otherwise.
I know, and I could tell just watching him that he felt bad about it. I said, why don't you go up and offer him a nice red balloon or something?
Right, exactly.
This is probably why I have no children.
Right.
And it's probably a good reason why.
Would you like a little paper boat?
Yeah, come over here. It's only raining a little. Come on, I'll have you for dinner. Anyway, so Daphne, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm busy as heck. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, and I keep reminding Cookie. I'm in a similar situation, and I remind her that there was a very easily countable number of years ago when no one cared how much idle time I had on my hands, creatively speaking. So it's like, you guys, Brian, I'd like to. Yeah, I'll do it. No problem.
Right,
I'll do it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm your guy. So,
now it's like, leave me alone. I'm swamped.
yeah. You go from everyone, please talk to me with offers,
right.
to leave me the hell alone. I'm not getting anything done. So,
right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what's been going on. I mean, who knew that a pandemic would work wonders for my career?
I know. Yeah, it's I think it was Winston Churchill who used to say something to the extent of never let a good crisis go to waste.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like literally that's what happened. I mean, it's. I mean, I have never been this busy before. And it's like I've never worked on this much comic book work before. I mean, and I've been at this for
a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so it's like it's just been like a wild ride.
Yeah, but what a ride, right?
No, really, and it's like now the trick is just trying to keep that momentum going. Yeah.
Oh, I hear you. Well, anyway, first of all, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for bringing me on. I mean,
it's
like the first time that.
And it's something that's long overdue because we've known each other a while, and I should have had you on before. So I'm adult, but anyway,
no, not at all, not at all. I mean, it's like, look, it takes a while to get on the show with the best title ever.
I know. And the origin of that is I just wrote it down as a placeholder. I thought, well, that's not half bad. So
right, exactly.
So 6 months later, I'm still getting suggestions for shows. Anyway, Daphne, since you're here, darling, I'm going to give you the spotlight. Please introduce yourself and tell everyone why you are so amazing.
Oh, well, hey.
No pressure, girl. No
exactly. It's like, hi, everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I am a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. And I have been self-publishing comics since 1992. You do the math, because I'm not. And I am known for the funny animal fantasy adventure Tall Tales, which we're about ready to come out with Volume 3 of this series sometime in November, maybe early December. We still haven't decided yet, but we're finally putting out the book that started it all in the format that it was meant to be. So Volume 3 coming on soon. But right now I am also known for my medieval fantasy soap opera Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, which is in its final 2 days on Kickstarter. It's currently a project we love on Kickstarter, which means that somebody over there really liked this book, so I'm happy about that. We just hit the 4K mark, which unlocked all of my trading card stretch goals, and now we'll see if we can unlock the last stretch goal at 5,000. Can we do that in 50 hours or whatnot? We don't know, but let's find out together, right? So you can read both my comics online for free if you want to try them out at Tall Tales, TAILS online.com, and egoworks.com, EGOWRKS. And I also have a YouTube channel where you can see me work on all this on this stuff and do product reviews and have the occasional entertaining rant from what I've been told. And you can find that on YouTube at Daphne Lage, Lage art.
Beautiful. And it does my heart good to see somebody that, is ready with promotions and knows how to hold up the graphics.
Oh, I learned it from you, sir. I learned it from you.
I am flattered.
It's like, oh, you can actually hold up stuff. Okay, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah. Well, it started out as I'm not organized to organize my graphics, like a little video or anything. So
right, Right, yeah. It's just so much easier to just have everything in front of you and just put it up, Also, there's something about showing people an actual book as opposed to a graphic. It makes it a little bit more real.
It does.
I think, yeah.
It does, yeah. And let's see if we can get Daphne over that Kickstarter goal in 55 minutes. How's that? Let's be ambitious, right?
Well, hey, it's like let's be a little adventurous, right?
Right? Why not? And Daphne, if you put in a link to
your
stuff in the private, I will share it on the show.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I will distract. I'll distract the rabid hordes here. They've been described as rabid animals, and let's see, what was the exact Skunk Crocker, our boy Skunk Crocker here, who is on Stupid O'Clock on Thursdays at 9 and 11 o'clock on Saturday nights. Yes, all right, everyone. Remember, when Daphne gets here, behave yourselves, act rational, and not like the bunch of rabid weasels you normally are.
Well, you know what? Rabid weasels are fine. It's like we are all about the furries here too. So.
You just want
no furry shaming here.
Oh my God! You just won Skunk over. I'm telling you, you're now his favorite cartoonist ever. So Skunk has a predilection, shall we say, for this sort of thing? Anyway,
hey, no, like I said, no shaming here.
That's right. We do not shame here, you freaks. So you have a safe space here. It's all right.
Look, I've been involved in that fandom for 10 years. I've seen a lot and then some. So I understand.
It's gonna be tough to horrify you this morning, right?
Right. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and also I was explaining earlier that we met on Sunday Funnies on the Indie Volt Network. And you do some stuff for them. And why don't you tell everybody, how did you get started? What was your artistic journey? Because I always find that fascinating. How did you get from where was your point A, and how did you get to where you are now? So where did it start for you?
Sure. I mean, it's like it started back when I was in high school. And a friend of ours, we were all sharing homeroom together, and I was showing my portfolio to somebody. And he happened to be looking over our shoulders. And then it's like he saw all the furry stuff that I was doing, and he goes, "Hey, I have a friend who's wants to start up a comic book company, and he needs somebody who draws like that. You wanna draw a comic?" And mind you, up until this point, I had no real experience with that, and I just go, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Because that's normal, right?
Don't we all?
Right, exactly. And what was funny was that, just to show you how old the book is, it was Tall Tales that he wanted, that the friend wanted someone to work on, because he had an original artist for that, but the original artist was more like superhero type, so he wasn't really getting the right vibe for it. So he needed somebody who was more like kind of like more animals and Disney type of thing.
Right.
We've been so the person who wanted for me to work on his comic was JD Calderon, and we've been together ever since, just doing comics and doing whatever nonsense we can get ourselves into. But it was just that dopey. It's like, yeah, sure.
Now you started publishing before like print on demand, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like it's like I said, around our first issue of Tall Tales was printed in 1992. Well, what it was that it was a mini anthology that we did where, like everyone starting up a comic book company at the time, everybody wants a line, right? Everybody's looking to be the next Marvel. Yeah. So we had like a whole group of friends, and we were all doing individual comics, and we thought that the first book that would be good to do was like a mini anthology introducing our line. So that was the first it was a book called Revelations, and it had a 5-page short story of Tall Tales and all the other books. So that was our first foray into self-publishing. And yeah, this was before print on demand or anything. I mean, but also this was before Diamond being a monopoly too, because it's like when we printed that book, we had, I think, like around like 15 something distributors to go through.
Right.
So we were able to do a real print run with an actual print company. Like I think we printed around like 3,000 of that issue, and they're all gone. It's not like we have any of these books left. I mean, we literally have thousands and thousands and thousands of issues of Tall Tales, of all our other books floating around, because that's kind of how robust the industry was back then. Yeah, so it's like depending on how you look at it, we were coming in right in the middle of the black and white boom slash bust.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, so we were seeing a whole bunch of different books that were like really really inspiring us to really push forward with this. But yeah, but it was definitely a different time back then.
Yeah, because of course, I am the elder statesman around here, so I can remember a time no comic book shops. I can remember a time when the spinner racks at the
Right, yeah,
7-Eleven,
yeah,
and
exactly.
and certainly no semi monopoly on comic book
Right.
distribution, the
Uh-huh.
stranglehold that we've had for since the 90s.
Yeah.
And it was like one day I was talking to Varian on one of his shows, and he mentioned and Variant's days of spring chickenry are a bit behind him, and he was mentioning that he could not remember a time when there were no comic book shops.
Wow,
And
no, because I could. I mean, because my,
yeah,
my first experience with finding an American mainstream comics, I kind of got into it late. I was, to put a little bit more context on it, I was born in Spain, kind of half raised in Brazil. So their comic book scene is very different.
yeah,
So I was always surrounded by comics, but it never registered to me as to like this was something you could do. It was just like something everybody read. I mean, literally, you're in the street, grown adults are reading comics. It wasn't anything that really stood out for me, which was strange. Only in the United States did that happen. So the first book that really, really kind of got me, actually, I think these two books kind of entered my life at the same time.
yeah.
So I was at a supermarket and I was just futzing around, and there was a spinner rack there. And right on the spinner rack was Rocket Raccoon issue 2, the one that Mike Mignola did.
Right.
And I was looking, at that book, and it was like my life changed in that supermarket aisle. That it's like I had no idea like you could actually do something like this. And it was just funny because it's not like it had to be that book. Like the whole spinner rack was full of other different comics, but there was just something about Rocket Raccoon, this raccoon guy running around in space, that just like blew my mind. And then the other book that entered my life at the same time was ElfQuest.
Yes.
And that one I found at a Barnes & Noble. There was a Barnes & Noble, it's like that we would go to every weekend, kind of like as a treat, as like a weekend treat.
Yeah.
Just being able to walk through a bookstore. That's how you know we were a family of nerds, because it's like you could just leave us in a bookstore and that was our weekend, And it's like an ElfQuest was like one of these books that I completely like gravitated to. And every time we went to the bookstore, I would always go into that same aisle, find the same book, and just keep looking at it. Like it never occurred to me to buy it, But it's like, but it's like then it's like eventually it's like, you know what? I'm gonna finally buy this thing, because I just keep staring at. And that's the thing too. All I would do in the bookstore was I just kept staring at it, like I was looking at the face of God. It was just like. It was just like, wow, you can even do like even more with this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's when it's like, I finally go, wow, this is really something you could do. And not only that, but the type of stories that you could do.
Yeah.
And I kind of was dabbling because of those two books until the friend asked, do you want to do a comic? And like I said, and that was like the extent of my experience of it. Like I said, it's like I was just, but it's like, hey, I think after like 30 something years, I think I'm kind of good at it. So
I think you are too. I think you're amazing. I love looking at your art. I really do. And I could see a lot of Wendy in your work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of the line work and your color choices.
Right. It's color theory is a tough thing to.
It is, and it's something. It's like while everybody's studying, like pencilers and inkers, which of course, as a comic fan, I did too. It's like I can tell a John Costanza lettering job from a Ben Oda, from a Morris Waldinger, and, yes. And I think coloring is like lettering in that the only time most people notice it is when it's done poorly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old Honeywell commercial, for the thermostat, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's like we're working when you don't know we're there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like that, and it's like, it's like when you don't notice, you only notice it when it's bad. Yeah, that just seems to be the thing. So it's like, the trick is to really pay attention when you're not noticing it, and realize it's like, wait a minute, if I'm not noticing it, that means that there's something there I have to look at.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and especially, like with coloring, I grew to really love Stan Goldberg, who, of course, coloring back in his heyday, when he was like the head colorist for Marvel in the early 60s, is totally different than what it is today, half a century later. But I noticed he did wonderful things with Tom Palmer, too, with white and negative space. He didn't have to fill every single flipping inch of that panel with some sort of color, just some white as a highlight.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like that's a mistake. I mean, it's like I made those mistakes too, back in the day, where it's like, I had this terror of not filling up every inch of white space with something, because I never wanted somebody to say, oh, all you do is just draw talking heads or something. So I always had to fill up the space to kind of like, also to make up for the fact that I couldn't use color at the time, because at the time color was extremely cost prohibitive.
Oh yeah.
So I came up with this very highly texturized inking style to make up for the fact that I couldn't color, that it wasn't a feasible option.
Sure.
And then it's like, and then it's like, as the certain things became more accessible, I started like kind of like trying to calm down on that. It's like kind of like, like kind of get rid of some really bad habits because of that. And now it's like it's like with coloring now. I used to be super, super elaborate with coloring, almost unnecessarily so, once color became kind of like easier to gain access to.
Right.
And then it's like when I decided to do Eagle Raven finally, when we went on lockdown, I thought, you know what? I can't color this way. I mean, it's going to take me forever to do this book. It's like there has to be a simpler way to do this.
Right.
And I went on YouTube because, it's like, thank God for everybody who wants to film everything that they're doing.
Yes.
And I started learning how to color correctly for comics. And what was funny was the thing that really struck me, that really was like the light bulb moment for me, was that I could be simple. And it's like, and it would still have a very dramatic effect, or it would still have the same effect. I didn't need to be all elaborate and, trying to do like, that crazy anime style looking, And it's like, I could just be simple. And it was such a light bulb moment that it's like, okay, now I can actually try to think of colors now, instead of like, oh, am I filling up all the spaces? Am I coloring in all the details? And I realize I don't have to do that.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, I don't know if you're probably familiar with Alex Toth.
Yeah.
And Randy and I talk about him constantly.
Yeah.
And it's like, he said, I read an interview one time where he said that he spent the first half of his career trying to figure out what to put into the panel, and then the last half trying to figure out what to take out.
Right, yeah.
There's this time.
There was this sequence that I saw of his where I think it was Zorro, where he drew a full figure of Zorro with all the details in it, and then he took a brush and then he just started covering everything up until you got this really, really dramatic, not a silhouette, but just like your brain was able to fill up everything with just it being like this black shape, and it was just like, there's something to that.
It was magic.
It was just like the fact that and it's just, and it's like, and it's like you see Mike Mignola doing that work a lot now, and a lot of people are imitating that style, and it's just funny to see how it's like people are imitating the style, but you can see that they're getting different lessons from it. So you can kind of see, okay, well, this guy is, it's like what this, like one guy is doing, but another guy, they're doing the same style.
Right.
But you can tell they're doing different things with it, and that's like kind of pretty fun to look at too.
Yeah, especially when you start getting familiar with different older artists'
Yeah.
work, and then you see somebody like, say, a John Byrne.
Right.
And
Yeah.
what struck me when because I remember when he was doing stuff for
Right.
Charlton before he hit Marvel and DC, but it's like you could see a strong Gil Kane influence, a strong
Right,
Jack
yeah.
Kirby in him, and same with like Jim Starlin. You see the
Right.
way he curves legs is very much like that
Right.
weird lower leg that Gil Kane always
Right,
did.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
does he have some sort of bone disease? No, it's a Gil Kane leg. So, but yeah, you start to see that and see how they take those lessons and move
Right,
on and create a fresh style that then other people
Right.
imitate.
Yeah.
Which is
What is
cool.
it? I had somebody explain to me that a style is something that is something that's uniquely yours. You're doing wrong.
Yes.
You
Ty
know,
Templeton
that's-
told me the same thing.
Yeah,
one
that
time.
it was like,
yeah.
it's like, and that always stuck with me. That it's like a style is what you're doing that's wrong, that's uniquely yours.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like you mentioned all these artists like John Byrne and Gil Kane and Jack Kirby and whatnot. And what's funny is that like these are a lot of artists that I only began to really pay attention to once. Much older. Like, because when you're in your 20s, you think you know everything. And it's like, oh, who the hell are these guys? And, what do I need? Oh, these are all old and things like that. And only now, probably like the last 10, 15 years, I began to really pay attention to what these guys were doing. And, like, yesterday, I posted up on Facebook just a little thing about Jack Kirby. It's like, it was like this neon picture panel of Galactus and whatnot, and it was just so striking that I just had to mention it. That it's like, you know what, it's like there's the reason, there's certain things that I think that you have to be older to appreciate.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm looking at this panel and I'm like, well, you know what makes Kirby like completely special now and stand out for me is the fact that when you're living in an age where everybody wants everything gritty and realistic and monochrome and this, that, and the other thing. You look at Kirby, and this was a guy who looked at comics and said, F it, I'm going to push this medium to the ends of the earth and then some, to the point where you can't recognize it.
Yeah.
And it's like he did such he did such wild stuff in his, even his color choices. Yeah. And the fact that, like they come out with the Eternals movie, and I'm like going, you are all cowards. Every single one of you who designed this movie, you're all cowards.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
It's like, how can you look at Kirby's work and completely miss the point of the visual aesthetic of it?
Yeah.
It's like it's just like that's. And it's like and it's just something that really stands out, like the way it's like also like I'm studying more Frank Thorne, I'm studying more oh my god, I can't believe it, John Buscema, like really studying, like Conan covers, because it's like, it's the one thing that I miss from a lot of comics. Well, you see it more in independents. I don't really pay much attention to mainstream comics, but I'm a little tired of like the pinup that has nothing to do with the inside, that it's just there because they're gonna slab it and put it on a on a shelf, and that's it. So it just needs to look pretty. So it's like I've been studying these Conan covers because I really want imagery that tells a story. And that's something that I'm really pushing myself right now. It's like, especially like a pinup shouldn't be just a pinup. A pinup should be telling you something.
Yes.
So it's like, but the thing is though, is that I find myself looking at the older guys, at the older artists to figure that out. Like I said, Frank Thorne and John Buscema especially, I'm like studying there. It's like, okay, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And it's just really, really fun stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
And I tell people one of the best books on comic book writing is How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by John Buscema and Stan Lee. Because you see so many artists and this is regardless of what side of the mainstream they're on.
Right.
If you have a section where it's got to be exposition.
Right.
Now, I finally dawned on me, Kirby did it by having a fight scene.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how they deliver the exposition. Whereas, and then having different angles on quieter moments.
Yeah.
Where people are standing around talking, but the body language is conveying something.
Right.
And a lot of artists just basically have everybody standing at attention
Yeah.
while the writer wants you to deliver these long spiels that's going to give some context to what, to the space between the fight scenes. So this is a constant re-education process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like one of the things that that I like to also like return to time and time again is Wally Wood's work. Yes. Especially the whole like how it's like the I think what is it, the 27 panels that always work or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like and what I've been doing recently is doing a lot of short stories that's just like they're like the little 8-page comics or whatnot, but mostly they're just people talking.
Right.
And the thing that I'm trying to really kind of, practice is how to make a talking scene interesting looking.
Yeah.
Because not everything is a fight. It's like, how many fist fights have you been in? But how many conversations have you been in?
Far more than fist fights.
Right, exactly.
To say.
Right, exactly. So it's like, so the idea is trying to figure out how to make these quieter moments just as visually interesting as a fight scene. Right. And it's like, and Wally Wood is such an interesting person to really study for that. I understand that he did that chart as a shorthand when he was doing, because like he was coming in from, I guess, advertising illustration, and you can't draw like that in comics. Yeah. So you really have to create a shorthand language to translate, or else you're there all day on one panel, which you can't afford to do. So it's like it's just really interesting to see how comics really is a different language you have to learn on certain levels when it comes to the art, when it comes to the writing, when it comes to certain things in it, to make a proper book.
That's true. Everybody, please check out the bottom of the page here. If you want some good furry comic book stuff, you need to hit that Kickstarter right now.
Yes,
please give it some love. And if nothing else, please share the website with your friends. All right.
Thank you.
And let's give you a break here. Let's talk to some of our friends, some of whom you may know, like Glenn
Hey,
Fleming.
Hey, Glenn.
I mentioned that I was walking on a concrete floor all weekend, and I'm elderly, and I paid for it on the drive home.
Well, those are conventions. I miss the conventions that are just in like church basements or convention or hotel where it's like it's all carpeted.
I've started carrying like this gel mat that I try to stand on.
Right?
Walking
exactly. Oh, that's such a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea too. I mean, look, there just comes an age where it's like, you have to bring odd things just to survive a convention.
Like an assistant.
Well, that too. Yeah. Exactly.
I've reached
that point.
Massage
therapist.
There we go. Yeah, what's Brian doing? Don't just leave me alone. I'm fine. I'm in my epi zone. But you said Glenn was asking, what were you doing on concrete floor? Wait, don't tell me. And Historical Fencing Guild, Nicholas Tockard, Friday nights at 8 p.m. on our channel here, asks, so has Nevermind the Furthermore fully transitioned to a guest/campaign promo show? Clever mind the pending Furthermore. Thank you. No. We have not. We are mostly, but when I get cool people, a chance to have cool people on the show, I definitely don't say no. So, like I said, this is long overdue. I've been waiting to have Daphne on for the longest time, but it's just, scheduling.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and there's a lot, and the thing about Clever Title Pending, God bless everyone, and we are bringing it back. Don't panic. But as soon as the Dastardly Dingoes take a hiatus on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, always promote. But once they get off there, we will bring back Clever Title Pending. But it takes a lot of time to you get a lot of people that want to be on it, and I was getting a lot of people that hey, I've got a Kickstarter going, so when can I come on your show? Like somehow the Kickstarter people told them, okay, set up your page, launch it, then call Brian. You know,
Right.
it's like,
Well,
I don't remember
yeah.
seeing that in the instructions.
Yeah, it's launching campaigns is weird like that, because it's like, it's people, it's like they think that it's like that all the shows are just there waiting for them, like this, like,
Yeah.
okay, you got a campaign, and it's like, no, you actually have to like interact with people beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You kind of have to get to know people first. You can't just push your stuff.
yeah, and
There's a certain, there needs to be like a list of like, Kickstarter etiquette or something,
I think honestly, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's like I can only imagine what Varian and Randy get,
Right.
and Pops Van Zandt get. Of course, those guys are pretty much set up for that sort of thing.
Right,
Whereas,
yeah, exactly.
Whereas I'd rather talk to you about art and color theory.
Right,
and,
yeah,
and
I know. It's
publishing
like
history.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the type of show that you're running. I mean, there's different types of shows for everybody. So.
Oh yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
right. So go find them, people.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and leave the cool kids alone on this one. And anyway, Ryan Permisson, please check out his work there. And please keep putting your promotions. We'll try to put them on the screen, but we may not read them out loud. And Facebook users from Carl Wisman, if you love Brian, and gosh, who wouldn't love the chance to, please open the show on YouTube too and subscribe. Thank you,
yes.
Carl. Thank you. And your butt found the concrete again. I thought it was just my swing falling with you and Cookie on it.
No.
This is something a little kinkier. And good morning from the Ninja Gankum. Glad to see you here.
Good morning.
Always happy to see you. And also subscribe to Ryan's. And Skunk, success is something you define. Find your definition of success. I mean,
really,
there's still levels that are higher, but would you agree, Daphne?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, it's like, I think that a lot of people get it in their head that actually kind of gets in the way of the creative process is judging, is actually basing your success on somebody else's. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, well, they did this, and that. Like there are people who literally think that it's like, oh, unless I have a Netflix deal, my comic is a flop.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. And to me, I'm like, no, the fact that I have a physical copy of my comic and people want it, that's a success. I don't care about like all that ancillary stuff. Yeah. But it's like, you could see how a lot of people, like, they look at other things where it's all about the money, and then it's like, it's like, and you see it affects the work. Because then it's like they start trying to cater the work to whatever that weird outside thing is that they think is going to make, I'll make it if, I get to that point. And then it's like they kind of like, no, either your heart has to be in the work, not in whether you get a Netflix deal.
Yeah.
That's not where your passion should be. Your passion should be in the actual work. Put your passion in the work. And then, and it's like, to me, that's the success. Because it's like, look, like I said, we've been at this for a long time, and the road is littered with bodies of people who never made it past their issue 1. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, I didn't sell 10,000 copies, or something like that. And it's like, now it's like, oh, I didn't have a $500,000 Kickstarter. But you still sold 100 copies, to people directly who want it. I mean, it's like, that's the success. Yeah. Sometimes I catch myself doing that too, and so it's not, it's something that happens to everybody. It's like you kind of like become fixated on something that's outside of what you really should be worried about. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, wait a minute, no, I accomplished this, and this. Which is a lot more than what most people do. So,
just the fact that you finish or even start something.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people come up to you at shows or online and say, I'd like to do what you're doing.
Right.
But I've got, gaming, I've got video games, I've got movies, I've got TV, and I've got all these distractions that I'm allowing to pull me away from it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do I do what you do without putting in the actual effort to do it?
And
it's like, it's like, exactly.
Asked me that very question.
Right. Because that's really what they're asking you. It's kind of like, say, how do I become a plumber without sticking my hand in a toilet? I mean, it's like
union,
right, and it's like, in the end, that's what they're really asking, because that's also another thing that they think that what you're doing is easy. And it's like, well, if it was easy, you wouldn't be asking me about it. You'd already be doing it.
Right. I think it's when you show a certain level of skill and a certain level of what other people would call success,
right?
That they don't, they see the example I use is that they see Michael Jordan repealing the law of gravity during a Bulls game, but they don't see the 10,000 layups he did to get
exactly.
there.
Exactly. It's like people like to, they like to really like put down Brian Pulido for his work, and it's like, dude, I mean, it's like, look, it's like this guy was starting around the same time we were. We saw him from the very beginning. That's like the hardest working man in comics.
No
one
joke.
of. And it's like, when people try to, to dump on him, it's like, oh, you don't know the half of it, and you have absolutely no right, to even, it's like, you haven't seen the amount of work that man had to do to get to the point. And mind you, and this is him almost losing his characters too.
Yeah,
that it was like only through absolute luck that a friend of his, bought the rights to Lady Death and gave it back to him. So it's like, don't tell me that this guy is freaking lazy because he does like 137 variant covers on a Kickstarter. It's like, no, it's like this guy earned his stripes,
True.
And it's like, it's just kind of, and it's like, and it's just kind of, and you know what, and I bet you if we ask Brian Pulido what his definition of success is, it would be a completely different definition than what we would think looking at him would be.
Yeah, and he's probably like people like yourself and myself and many of the people in our chat here that you see where you're at and you can acknowledge, I've left square one long behind me, but there's still still see the horizon where you still have opportunity and you still have places you need to go, not just business wise, but also creatively.
Oh no, absolutely, because that's also the thing too that creative people really have to be careful with is never become complacent with your work.
Yes,
it's like always, it's like always be uncomfortable enough you have to walk a couple of steps forward. Exactly. It's like and that's the thing, like every time I do my comic work, I always try to do something in it that I struggle with, so that it forces me to push through it because it's in the comic. I mean, it's kind of like all these mental games we have to play with ourselves just to be able to continue. That's why, for me, successful is just being able to outlast the people who can't handle it.
Exactly. Well, it's like you've got all those books, and you've done the floppies, and you look at somebody like Lou Stone who has like 7 or 8 issues of hybrids out, and then you see people. One thing we do on our Comics Book Spectrum show on Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Be here. Hashtag always promote. But anyway, sorry, Daphne.
Absolutely.
But you touched on some of the things that we kvetch about on there, and one is covers that have not one damn thing to do with going on inside, but they're pretty pinups, and also the fact that there's a couple comic book companies that seem to do nothing more than release number ones. Right,
because they're completely catering to a revamped collector's market. Because it's like, because right now, especially, I mean, it's kind of funny to see how it's like, oh my God, it's like it's the speculators market all over again.
We're back in the 90s.
Right, exactly. To see all these people obsessing on key issues and slabbed books and CGC graded and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, wow. And it's like, and there just seems to be something even weirder about it, because it's like, do you guys even look inside the book? I mean, it's like the fact that it's slabbed means that you're not meant to.
Right.
That it's like it might as well just be the cover in that. It's like, and it's kind of weird because it's like we do, it's like I don't come on, go. Oh, I had cat acting up. It's like I work too hard for people to not read, to actually enjoy my work.
Yeah.
So it's like the thought of like even like there was like this thing that I read that it's like 70% of the people who buy Kickstarter books never read them.
Oh,
They just get them and they just toss them in a corner. I mean, it's like
that hurts.
that. It does. It's kind of gross because it's like, hey, it's like, I'm spending all this time working on this stuff. I want you to enjoy it. I mean, in the end, though, I mean, I always say that I'm always doing my work for an audience of one, which is me, and then everybody else enjoying it is a bonus. But I still want you to enjoy it.
Yeah. And I get the same thing. It's like, I never realized, yes, we all want the sales, but I never realized how much joy there is in hearing somebody say, like, hey, Brian, I just gave, not just loaned, but I gave my copy of Santa's Sign to my best friend. I think they'd enjoy it. And I'm like, it's almost a magical feeling. It's like, no, I didn't lose a sale, but somebody else is digging my work.
Right.
Well, I think it's very powerful.
Right. I think there was like one time at a convention where we had a couple of regulars stop by, and what happened was that they lost their house in a fire. So they lost everything. Oh, no. So when they found out that we were at the convention near them, they made a beeline to us and they rebought all of our books because they felt that it's like, look, we need to have your books back in our collection. We're rebuilding our collection and your books needed to be there. And it's like, I know. It's like, holy shit. It's like, you lost everything in a fire and you still thought about our books.
Yeah.
I mean, even just thinking about it, it's kind of like, oh my God, it's like we had like that much of an impact,
Yeah. Oh my God.
And it's like, and even, meeting people that go, it's like, oh, you inspired me to get into this, the way you did, the way you draw, the way the books were written, it's like, it really showed me that I was able, like, it gave me permission to do things, and it was just like, and it's like, it's like, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear people go, oh yeah, I got your cover, I got your book, your number one slab, that 9.8 grade, It's like, what does that mean? That means nothing to me. It's like, okay, great. So you have, a copy that wasn't dinged up because someone actually read it. Congratulations.
Good for you, Sparky.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like, it's just, it's such a meaningless metric for me. I mean, it's like, and it's just really funny to see. It's like that kind of frenzy. So it's like, oh, key issue. It's like, and it's the first issue. Like that's also the thing about Kickstarter too. There's always going to be people who only collect issue ones. So it's like they see issue 1 on a Kickstarter, and it's like, like my issue 1 Kickstarter, I think, has like the most backers. Right. That I had, but the trick is trying to drag everybody into the other issues. But you can see, that there are people who just were there for issue 1 and that was it. And I'm like going, oh God, I don't get that.
I know. Oh my God, I total feel that.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get back to the comments here. Historical Fencing Guild. Brian's top 5 secret ways to trick the algorithm goes for free.
Oh, until they change it again. That's the worst part. That's the worst part. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll change it in 3, 2, 1.
The second they see that people have kind of like figured out what the algorithm's doing, they change it. It's like, really, it's like with Facebook and YouTube and all that, it's almost like they don't want you to succeed on their platform.
Yeah, they keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
And it's tough to know how far you have to throw the ball.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Lage cackle.
Oh,
there we go. Yeah.
It's been a while, I know. It's like I'm still dealing with the aftermath of the flooding, and it's like, it's not fun. So I and also with the campaign, I've kind of been like having to really prioritize where I schedule my time. So yeah. So I'm glad you're able to hear it here.
Yeah. And this poor woman, she is forced to be on these low-rent interview shows on the morning.
Absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not, sir.
She is lowering herself, demeaning herself, I'm telling you. And Donna, and if we have no other takeaway from the morning, here we go. Donna Carleen says all spotted cows are females because all cows are females.
There we go. Yeah. No, the funniest thing, I was coloring in the cover for Tall Tales Volume 3.
Yeah.
And I started laughing because I just remembered something that so back when I was more in furry fandom and doing Tall Tales.
Yeah.
So I have this scene where I have a donkey character riding a horse. And I do it because it's funny. It doesn't really, it's like, and you wouldn't believe how many people went after me for that, saying that, oh, that's wrong, and this, that, and the other thing, that's not accurate, that wouldn't happen. And it's like, right, but the donkey talking is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the same picture, I had a rat guy holding an actual rat. Right. And I was like, well, I got more shit over that horse riding a horse, and I never had anybody mentioning the rat guy holding a rat.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of funny how those lines are.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on one of fandom page, and Ryan Permisson mentioned the 20th anniversary of Smallville earlier. Mm-hmm. Everybody was debating, like, it was back in the days of Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, Dean Cain and all. And somebody was making some sort of big deal about some plot element or some scientific thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I had to point out that we're talking to a guy who can point his fingertips to the sky and fly to the moon. Why are we worried about real science right now?
Right, exactly, and that's kind of like a lot of that's kind of like the debate that I keep seeing online now about realism and fantasy and whatnot. It's like, look, it's like I've had people go, "Oh, is Tall Tales historically accurate?" And I go, dude, it has talking animals in it. It's like, don't come to me with that. And it's like, and there was like this whole thing where it's like, like people like literally arguing about the historical accuracy of potatoes in medieval Europe. And I'm like going, holy shit, don't do that. Don't do that. If that's all it takes, if potatoes and medieval toilets is all that it takes to take you out of a story, you know what? You don't need to be reading my stuff. It's like, look, I have a character in my series where it's like, it's a talking fox guy in a pseudo 13th century European environment, addicted to Swedish fish and coffee. Don't argue with me about the accuracy of that. Okay. I don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
The people who complain about English, it's about modern slang in a medieval setting. It's like, dude, I'm not writing a book for medieval people.
Yeah,
I'm
is
writing
medieval scholarship.
Right, exactly. This is not an academic work here. It's like, I'm not doing a thesis here. It's like, I'm writing a book that is aesthetically medieval. Right. But it's for a modern audience. So I'm going to do whatever I want with it. And plus it has talking animals in it, which means everything's game. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, and I really can't stand that train of thought. Like, oh, it has to be accurate. It has to be accurate. And it's like, and someone had brought up the fact that it's like, look, it's like oh, there's no apples. Like, the apples in this medieval setting is wrong. And it's like, look, if you actually put in what a medieval apple actually looked like, nobody would recognize it as an apple. So it's like, I'm not writing this for medieval people. I'm writing this for modern people, and you have to link to their knowledge of what they know. It's like, no one is gonna do actual medieval history research just to read your comic.
Yeah. We're gonna make our medieval comics so accurate. We're putting in a scratch and sniff part.
Right.
You can smell what a medieval town smells like. Right. With no indoor plumbing.
Right. Actually, it's funny. I was just looking up something like that recently. I was reading up about hygiene and bathing in medieval times. Right. And the funny thing is that what I was reading is that the whole thing is actually kind of like a misnomer. Like, it was just like, it's extremely inaccurate. They said that actually bathing was a very big deal in medieval times. Yeah. And it's like that not only was like people bathing regularly, every weekend as a treat, they would literally go to a spa. Like, there were medieval spas that were like, well, there were two types of spas. There was the spas that were run by monks, and then there was the bathhouse that were run by prostitutes. But
I know where I'd be.
Right. So yeah. So it's like, so bathing was a big deal. It's like, yeah, they probably still, indoor plumbing was still kind of rare, but it didn't not exist.
Right.
So, and they were explaining that the reason why people got this idea about medieval people not bathing is because they were reading, a lot of attention was put on, like, medieval religious acolytes, who the ones who like give up all worldly possessions and stuff like that, and one of the things that they did was not bathe. And the thing is that what they did that because the discomfort of not bathing was part of their penance to God. Kind of like the people who would whip themselves.
Self-flagellation. Yeah.
The flagellants. Yeah, that was the name. That was the word I was trying to remember.
Flagellants and flatulence. This
right.
is very
yeah.
important now in
So
medieval
exactly. So it's like, so there were people who actually did that, but it was not the norm. In fact, it's like usually what they spent a lot of their time doing was bathing lepers. So so they knew about bathing. It's just that the reason why they didn't do it was religious in nature. But for some reason, that information got out and people thought, oh, nobody in medieval Europe bathed. And that's not, I mean, I was surprised to find out that actually wealthier people, like merchants and what, they actually had an indoor bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's like, and even soap is a medieval invention.
Right.
So it's like, so it's just really funny. So there's your historical accuracy thing for the day.
There we go, folks. This is truly the learning place.
Right, yes.
Follow us for more historical life hacks.
Right, exactly.
Well, and I can remember, I've done Western stories, and in researching them, the idea of the Saturday night bath.
Right, yeah.
And in certain periods of time, and we're going through another one right now where people question the idea of bathing like every other day.
Right. Yeah. Because because too much bathing is bad for the skin, and especially with all the chemicals that we're using and whatnot. You're not supposed to be washing your hair every day because it dries out the scalp. Yeah. There's like.
Yeah. Look what happens. Look what happens. Okay. Used to be down to here. Now watch. Anyway.
So it's like, so even to this day, it's like bathing is still an issue.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God, this is great. And hi there, Daphne, says Sarah. And Skunk says, geez, Nick, I was joking. It's okay. John B. Pica, hey there, friends and foes. Happy Monday. Dropping in for a few minutes before I got to plot the takeover of the world in the secret lair.
You go do that. It's like everyone has important plans for today. You should be no exception.
Exactly. And if you hear a fire alarm, it's just Daphne's
yes. That I forget to mention that sometimes, that it's like, yes, I share my office with a parrot, and sometimes he really acts up during streams. So if you hear any weird noises and stuff, that's him.
I heard it earlier in the broadcast, and I'm like, wait a second. Oh, no way. I forgot she's a bird mom. So anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. There you go. So.
And good morning to you, Eric Hawkins. Hope you're doing okay today, man. And Historical Fencing Guild says, Nick Tockert says, that was not a fire alarm.
Wow.
I absolutely love your art, Daphne. Wasn't your work in the American Journal of Anthropomorphics?
That's going back. Good for you, sir. Yes, it was. I was in several issues, and I also illustrated a story in there that to this day people ask me if I knew who the author was.
Wow.
Yeah, my suspicion that it was the publisher writing under a pseudonym. That's all I know. Right? So if you're familiar with the American Journal of Anthropomorphics, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So
I think I may have an issue or two of
right,
that
yeah,
around. I may have to look for that.
You know what's funny? It's like because what is it like during the flood? Like I said, we were affected by the hurricane, and our basement flooded.
That's right.
So we were able. Yeah, we lost a couple. We lost books, but we also found some weird ones. And JD found JD, who's the writer of Tall Tales,
right.
And the Oswald Chronicles, by the way, which is launching today, by the way. # always promoting.
# always promote your boyfriend. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and please say hi to JD. I haven't
No,
talked to him in
absolutely.
ages.
You know, he's dying to come on the show too. So
and I want to have him on, but I know he works.
Yeah,
like,
and so his schedule's a little weird. So I'll just tell him that's like, look, you guys can coordinate, and because
yes,
he really
let
wants
him know
to
I
come
still
on.
love him. So
Yeah, of course. So and he found some fanzines. And it's like, and he found one that was like a fanzine that was dedicated to just like erotic fanzines. So it was kind of like a fanzine of a fanzine.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating to look at, and it really made me like miss those days where it's like there were like it's like it wasn't like anthologies, it was just fanzines where it's like you would send your work in and then get the Xeroxed booklet in the mail. And I remember that being such a thrill.
Oh my god! Yes. Oh, holy cat!
Yeah.
Or you find one that actually printed like on cardstock.
Right, yeah, it was just like, it's just really funny. Now it's like everything's online and you don't get that same experience, and it's just like, oh, anybody can upload to DeviantArt. So, but there was just something about fanzines, it's just, I just, it was just kind of weird to see them and kind of like, wow, really?
Oh, yeah. No, I get it, because we moved a few years ago, and I'm 90% of my shit's still in boxes. Yes, I said it, folks. Deal with it. Anyway, but at least wasn't an F-bomb like my wife.
Well.
But anyway, I found some old fanzines too, like the old CPL from Bob Layden and Roger Stern.
Wow.
And what I always loved back in the day was going through these things and then seeing the people make that next step to pro.
Right, yeah.
And it's almost like you had this link with them because you knew them when.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, digital makes, as a publisher, it's like digital made a lot of things accessible and easier. Like the fact that it's funny. I was telling you about how color was completely cost prohibitive back in the day. Right. But I printed, but then it's like I printed a first color first issue and it didn't even register. Like it's like it was just, it just became like so normalized so quickly that it's like, oh yeah, of course I'm doing it in color. That's like, I didn't even think about like, wow, it's like 15 years ago I couldn't even think about that.
Yeah, or like you started out, print run, actual
you had to sell print run. Yeah, you had to sell a minimum of 3,000 copies to even get a printer to look at you.
Yeah.
There was no, like the only other way you could do it yourself is go the fanzine route. You go to Kinko's, you can make your copies, you're in your house stapling them, that whole cottage industry thing, and then you're putting it out that way. Like that would have been the only way to do it, and it's just funny. And now it's like it's old hat. It's like, oh yeah, of course it's in color.
Yeah, and also now if you go into Kinko's, you have to sign a disclaimer that these, or have a waiver that these characters are actually yours. And you have the right to do it. So.
Yeah, and depending on who you get behind the counter, it's like they don't even know what copyright law is. It's kind of like they'll look at you'll be showing them something with your own characters, and they'll be like, oh, we can't copy that. It's copyrighted. Right. And I go, yeah, I know it is. It's mine. And it's like, oh no, we can't do that.
Yeah. And I show them like my book covers. It's got my name on it, and I show them my driver's license. It's like, there aren't many imitators of me out there.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm the least imitated human on the earth. So I get it. And from Vanessa Small Press Publisher says, I am not a weasel. Rabbit at times, but not a weasel.
Hey.
We love you, man. And the Skycracker goes, wait a minute. Anthropomorphics, you have my attention.
I will always have your attention. Go to my main website at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, and you can see a lot of my actual furry stuff in the gallery that I did back in the day. So it's like, yeah.
Exactly. And Ninja Genko, Daphne Lage, very, very knowledgeable.
I try to be, because it's like, it's like the whole, there's, I don't know if there's too many people or just those are the ones who open their mouths where it's like, they just want to come in and they think comics is just this one thing and they know nothing about it. They don't know the history, they don't know the people, they don't know, and it's like they go again. It's like, how do I become a plumber without sticking my hand in the toilet? And it's like,
Exactly.
that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. It's
You
like
gotta
you either bleed this or you don't get it.
Exactly. And while we're
Yeah.
scrolling down, don't forget, folks, please support Daphne and her latest project. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
Thank you.
And from the Desk of Small Press Publisher, I was so happy when she started back to drawing humans. The artwork is worth it. So worth it.
No, again, it's that whole thing about creating projects and artwork that pushes me forward, that pushes my skill set, because the joke for the longest time was that I drew furries because humans were too hard. But then
please.
What was funny was that one of the things that made me create Eagle Raven as a comic was to give myself the opportunity to draw something that wasn't furries, and to force myself to draw people, and to force myself to draw more backgrounds, and to force myself to draw all this other things. And like I said, it's kind of weird, always be uncomfortable. Because it's like you don't want to be complacent. I didn't want to be this person who only drew one thing because that's the only thing, because that's where my comfort zone is. The interesting stuff is outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And that was the thing. And it's like, and once I really started catching on drawing people, my stuff to me became more interesting. Not that my furry stuff wasn't, but it's like it was just like pushing my head into being able to think of other things, because now I can do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I can't do that story because I can't draw this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people artistically in this field gravitate towards superheroes, because it's basically naked people with color on them.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if you want to get a job at Marvel or DC, draw a man wearing a business suit.
That's so hard. Yeah, really.
It is the way the clothing hangs and where it bunches up around like the shoulders.
Yeah,
and you just look at this.
Yeah.
Look at all the folds there.
It's like that's how you end up.
A horse.
Oh yeah, no, definitely a horse. Oh my goodness.
Horse.
There's an issue of Conan. Barry Windsor Smith. This panel is emblazoned in my brain because it's like, holy crap, how do you not know this?
Yes.
And it's Conan riding off on a horse, and he got the face of the horse and the bridle apparatus so wrong. It drove me crazy. And I'm like going, how do you have reference for everything else, Barry Windsor Smith, and not have reference for a horse with a bridle on?
Exactly. And yet you look at like John Buscema, who followed him. And he could probably like put his hand over his face and draw a horse with a proper working bridle on it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just one of those things where even the masters miss the point sometimes.
Exactly. So true. So true. And good morning from you, Willow Schuyler. Glad to see you here, sweetheart. And from the Desk of Small Press Publisher, relax, Skunk Rocker. She didn't give up anthropomorphics.
Yeah.
That is her bread and butter.
Yeah. There's plenty of them in the current comics in Eagle Raven. It's like I didn't forget them. There's just less of them in that comic, but they're still there.
They are still there. They're in the Federal Trade Commission demands a certain level of.
Yes, we have the chart, the flow chart. Right.
It's just like zombies, Eric Hawkins. There's a certain number you got to draw on a book.
Right, exactly. Yes, for it to meet inspection.
Exactly. There's the legal paperwork is just a killer. And Mike Jimmy Lordship de Bruin. Whoa, two of my favorite people. Glad to see you, Mike Jimmy. Glad to have you. And Skunk, we need to chat later. Yes, you do. Okay, and now Skunk Rocker has a question.
Yes.
So are you a furry or do you just draw furry stuff?
Oh, that's funny. When I was more involved in furry fandom, which was back in the 90s, I kind of dropped out by the time the 2000s hit. That I considered myself a furry while I was in the fandom because it just seemed like that was more of an accurate description of what I was doing at the time. I was doing like a lot of artwork specifically for fandom. Right. So it made sense to have that title, but now it doesn't make sense because I haven't been involved. I've been out of fandom longer than I've been in it. So it's like I don't have that connection anymore. So it's like, so I draw furry stuff, but I don't identify with fandom. So I anymore. So I wouldn't consider myself a furry, but I don't mind it if people call me one. It's like, oh, you know, you're a furry. It's like, yeah, that's fine. You know, it's like, I don't have an issue with that. But me personally, it's like, well, I draw furry stuff. Yeah. You know, it's like, but because I'm not involved in the fandom, I don't personally consider myself a furry. But I don't have a problem being called that. So
very good. Yeah. Very good. That's okay. I've written about a Nazi and steam-driven armor, but at no time have I ever been a member of the National Nazi Party.
Yeah, exactly.
Nor could I construct an armor that's run on steam.
Right. There you go. You know, yeah, you usually don't have to be. Yeah, that's another discussion that I keep seeing that I think is absolutely ridiculous. That it's like, unless you have absolute personal experience with a topic, you have no right to write about it, and that's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You know, I mean, it's like, and in the end, I can only chalk this up as this is non-creative people talking. People who don't know how to make things. There was a Kurt Vonnegut book, where it's like, I keep forgetting the name of it, where it's like they actually tried to stifle people's creativity. You know, like everyone had to be absolutely equal. Yes. So it's like, so if you were an athlete, they put weights on you so that you were equal to the worst athlete. You know, it's like if you were a dancer, they had, again, it's like they tried to hobble you. And then it's like, and everyone had an earpiece that's like, if you started questioning stuff, they would blast a noise in your ear that would make you lose your train of thought. And it's like, and it kind of seems like that's what they're trying to do, that it's like, well, I can't create this. I can't create anything. Right. And I resent the fact that you can, so I have to stop you somehow.
Right.
You know, with ridiculous rhetoric about, you know, like what you can and can't write and what's appropriate and not appropriate. And and I mean, and these discussions is turning me into like a First Amendment absolutist. You know, because it's like there's just so many people trying to restrict and almost criminalize what we're doing.
I know. Yeah.
That it's like, no. It has to be all or nothing. There is no, because it's like, you know what, the second you start saying, well, these people, then that's where you get your slippery slope. Then all of a sudden these people become those people, and then it's like, it's them, and then it's you.
Right.
You know, and yeah, it's like, no, it's like, look, my family, you know, lived under like 2 fascist regimes for real, you know, for like 40 plus years. My grandfather literally spent the day burning books so that he wouldn't burning his books so that he wouldn't be returned back to a concentration camp because his neighbors ratted him out. Yeah. And you know what? No, it's like, no, I don't need that.
Yeah. Oh, no. I agree. Yeah. And how many of us, you know, in the creative field have had those people who even meet well-meaning ones that, you know, say, you know, you shouldn't do this. You can't do that. You know?
I mean, part of the reason why I'm reluctant to go back into fandom is because while I was in fandom, you know, I also did the wrong thing of drawing a lot of furry porn. I'm just going to call it what it is. And I've literally had people say, oh, you know, you're ruining the fandom and this, that, and the other thing because you draw that stuff. And what if kids find it and this, that, and the other thing? And it's like, look, you know, at the time, furry fandom was very much an adult fandom for other adults. Right. So it's like, I was only doing what was, you know, at the time the norm. Right. And it's like, look, and the way I looked at it is like, you know, look, this thing was broken by the time I got here, so I'm not doing anything special, you know. And it's like, but I've literally had people to my face say, it's like, you're destroying the fandom and you're a bad representation. It's like, look, I'm not a representation for anybody. I'm just doing artwork. You either like it or you don't. You know, but it's like, you know, and it's like, look, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like something, you like something. But don't never confuse your consumer habits for activism. Okay? Exactly. It's like, it's not. It's like, you're not being moral or something just because, you know, you're crawling up my ass over the type of artwork that I'm doing.
Yeah. You know, and now it's like, you know, you see fandom, I always like to put it in quote marks
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
that, they lose their minds over Superman, whether he has trunks or not.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, and
You know.
as
Yeah.
opposed to, and I, I get that thing too. You
Right.
don't want to leave this stuff out. For if a kid finds it,
Right.
what it means is if a kid finds it, their parents aren't doing their job.
Right, exactly. I mean, because that's also the thing too. So Tall Tales is kind of like our. I really don't like the name All Ages because it assumes a little too much. I mean, we like to recommend it for 12 and up,
Sure.
But Ego Raven, it's like I actually kind of gnashed my teeth on the idea of marking it mature readers because I know where the story is going and I don't want people to just assume that's like, oh, it has unicorns in it. Let me just buy it for my kid. And I'm going, wait, no. It's like, I don't need you to do that. It's like, look, we all remember our first Watership Down moment. It's like I don't want to be a part of that. Right. It's like so it's like in the end I ended up marking it and really really stressing that Ego Raven is a mature audience's book because in the end I'm an adult doing comics for other adults. Right. I'm not interested in entertaining your children, and if you do have precocious readers, I still need you to look over it first. I don't want you to give your kids anything, blindly, because it's like doing because there's still this whole thing about comics is for kids, and it's like no, comics is a medium. It has everything in it. It's not just one thing. And it's like, and I want to make sure that people treat my comics with the respect that I feel it deserves. And if it means slapping a mature reader's label on it, then that's what I need to do. But at the same time, though, someone had brought up the whole thing about, not to get into this part, but it's like,
sure.
The whole, Superman's gay.
Right.
And I go, Superman's a fictional character, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, yeah, but he's gay. It's like, no, he doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what he is. It's like, Superman's not real. You know what's real? The fact that there are 30 states that have absolutely no protections for LGBT people. I mean, that's real. Superman kissing another guy is not real. Put your mind in actual real things, and change that. Don't worry about what some billion-dollar multimedia conglomerate is doing, trying to get your attention for free online advertising.
Exactly. Yeah. Change the world, and if you don't like who Superman smooches, don't buy it.
Right. Exactly. It's that simple. It really is. Worry about real things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Well, we've got a comment here from Raging ABC.
Oh, hey.
This is where the people are. Good morning to you. Mwah. Glad to see you. Subscribe to that channel too. They do good stuff. Yes.
And like I said, it's like and Raging right now. They just did the launch for J.D. Calderon's The Oswald Chronicles.
Oh, excellent.
So you'll be able to find The Oswald Chronicles now on Kickstarter as well. #,
Sweet.
always promote.
That's what we do here. Don't know where you picked that up. And Mike Jimmy Lordson de Bruin goes, now you rock it, Daphne.
Thank you.
I love your stuff.
Oh, and also promote, it's like Mike Jimmy is publishing a book called The Radiant Sight, which is absolutely beautiful. And that book needs more love than it's getting. I mean, really, it's like, look it up on Indiegogo, The Radiant Sight. If you love K-dramas, if you love, romance, and it's romance books, Cinderella story, check out that book, The Radiant Sight, Mike Jimmy, Indiegogo.
Yeah, seriously. Right now, folks, we're kind of near, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, we're kind of nearing the active season for crowdfunding because we're going to be going into Christmas holidays and stuff and everything. So right now, when you see, like Mike Jimmy or Daphne or JD or Dan Doherty or, anybody doing stuff that looks good, get on it now. Yeah. Because you can budget it later in the year. Right. And also, you will have something to read over the holidays when you're trying to ignore your relatives. And certainly That's important. Anyway,
Yeah.
you'll like this, Daphne. The
Oh.
Skunk Rocker says, yeah, while I'm waiting in line at the drive-thru, I'm going to check out
Thank you,
this
thank you.
Kickstarter.
And just so everybody knows, especially if you're buying stuff for the holidays, it's like my book is complete. So that issue 3 that I'm offering is complete. It's ready to go to the printer, so you will definitely get it before the holidays. So,
Most definitely.
yeah.
And Skunk's saying, I'm not going to lie, I want to cuddle that box.
yes, you do.
Oh, I think we found your audience, Daphne.
There you go. Thank you so much. I know they're out there.
That's right. Thank you, Skunk. We love you, man. And Walden Books, I used to do the same. Oh, didn't we all?
Yeah, you just spend all day just looking through everything. It was just like, literally, I mean, really, that's how you that's how you know we were a bunch of nerds. It's like that we could spend all day in a bookstore. A bookstore, it's like, you go to the mall and it's like bookstore.
Yeah, I missed that. I so missed that.
Yeah.
And Region says only 53 hours left to go on Daphne's campaign. Those personal goals are still available. Achievable. So
achievable.
yes,
Yeah.
Please
I'm trying to make this my first solo 5K campaign. I mean, it's funded. The campaign's funded, so it's not like the book is. It's just a personal goal, just to see if I could do it. So
let's make it happen, people. Let's make it happen, seriously. And I miss the heavy black and white work of the mid-late 90s historical fantasy guild. Yeah, there was some great stuff there. That's why I'm kind of digging like Shudder magazine right now, because they do such lovely black and white work and that stuff. And Scott Carter says, I thought that was more of a late 80s thing. Most of my 90s comics are either painted prints or brightly colored.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's like the heavy black and white was definitely an 80s thing. But then it's like once Photoshop really came into the scene and they started really experimenting with coloring comics, and that's when you began to see the transition to that Image 90s. I mean, not even Image. I think that predates Image. It's like it's more like you began to see Marvel really transitioning to that. At the time, it was very garish because nobody knew how to. But the funny thing is, it's like, but that just also tells you, because like I said, if you look at Jack Kirby's stuff and he uses all those crazy colors, you can see that there was a skill involved in using those colors, as opposed to what you saw in those early Photoshop days where people were like going, "Oh, it's a bright color."
Yeah. Oh my God. I hated the coloring back then because they were trying to make everything look like an oil painting.
Right. Yeah.
But it took all the style out of the original artist.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it was just like they were like just covering up the work with weird coloring, as opposed to like learning how to balance the two. You're supposed to enhance the work, not take away from it, type of thing. Or
Photoshop can do 1,000 things. I don't want to see all 1,000 in one panel.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, you're getting kind of like the J.J. Abrams of comics type of thing going on with lens flares and bezels and, and textures and drop shadows. It's like they're using all the filters.
I know, Wizard Magazine, I used to read it back in the day, and it's like, it was about 6 months there after Photoshop got into their office that, that stuff made my eyes hurt. And there's still a few artists out there that's like, look at all 900 things I can do. It's like, no, I don't have to.
Right, It's like, look, just because you have access to a million colors doesn't mean that you have to use them all at once.
Yes, pick the right one. Pick the best
color
one.
Theory, people. Color theory.
Exactly. You hear it a lot on this show, and there is a damn good reason for it.
It's like, look, this is your friend. This is your friend.
My wife during my wife during the lockdown learned how to do Photoshop and everything, and she has her color wheel on her wall.
No, really, it's like I'm constantly referring to this because it's like really, you need this. You need this.
Seriously, and they're not expensive, people.
Exactly.
Seriously.
You can, Amazon $4. Go ahead.
And order a names lettering guide while you're at it.
Right.
And Glenn B. Fleming will be very happy. The most difficult, simple theory to see and embrace is less
Absolutely.
is more.
Absolutely. I mean, I still struggle with that. You know,
yeah.
I still do, because it's like it's so easy to overdo. I mean, I swear, it's like the hardest thing for me as an artist is to look at a piece of work and say, it's done. I'm not touching it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
never truly done.
Yeah.
There just reaches a point where you just have to let it go.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like you put in one more line and you're gonna ruin it. You know?
Yeah, and then you gotta correct that with
Right.
another line, and that's
and then it's
there's
just
the slope.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Mike Jimmy agrees with Glenn.
Yeah.
Historical Fencing Guild says your art is so distinctive and just brings me back to the art that influenced me in the era of Fred Perry and Spaz.
Yeah, no, for real. Fred Perry, another guy, Gold Digger, Antarctic Press.
Yep.
That's like the hardest working artist in comics that most people have never heard of.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and Fred
Yeah.
Perry's been doing Gold Digger for how long now?
Really, I mean, it's like, again, it's like he's one of these guys that I think he even predates us. You know?
Yeah, he does. He really does.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's just like, it's just crazy what that man has just willed himself to do over these years. Yeah.
Yeah, when you get some artists and writers now who can't do 2 consecutive issues of a comic, and then you see Fred Perry, and how many issues is Gold Digger up to?
Really, it's like, it's like it's like, yeah, because it's like I like to, it's like I can't believe that I have over like 1,000 pages worth of comic book work, where that man probably has over 1,000 issues worth of
Exactly. Yeah, because he not only does that, but he does the spin-off books and all
right,
the other outside
and he's
work.
done he's done his own video game, and he's done his own animation, and it's like, it's crazy, and the fact that he's barely known outside of like the Antarctic Press circle is just it's sad, really. It's like that, even if you don't like his work, you have to respect it, the time that he's put into it. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Historical Fencing Guild also says, I think you really elevated a lot of anthro art beyond just furry animal.
Funny animals. Yeah.
Funny animals, excuse me, yes.
Thank you. It's like, look, it's like, because in the end, I like what I do.
Right.
I mean, it's like, and talk about like the most basic of like, how do I do this? It's like, one, you have to actually like it.
That helps. That helps a lot.
It helps a lot. And you know what? And you can see it from a mile away when somebody is just trying to do this as like kind of like an easy way to make money on Kickstarter.
Yeah, or jumping on a bandwagon.
Right, yeah. It's like you can tell it from a mile away. So love what you do. That's the important, the first, love what you do and finish the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good advice, Daphne.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
Advice. And Skunk was wondering what the noise was.
Yeah,
it's a bird.
Yes, it's a bird. Yes.
Or is it an airplane?
No,
or is it?
Right. Yeah. No, he hasn't learned any airplane noises yet, but it could be a garbage truck.
Your bird can train here on Monday morning. I'll tell you that. And Michaela Jane, there you are. Wow,
yes.
There you are. How you doing,
Hey.
Michaela? And yes, and all the Marvel movies are increasingly muted and lens flare. The liveliness just isn't there. Forte.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that bird's talented, imitating a smoke alarm and different sound
Yeah, the more obnoxious the noise, the more likely he learns it. He loves obnoxious noises.
Yeah, because because I was noticing, it's like I heard a fire alarm. No, wait a second, now I hear a smoke alarm. What the hell?
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's the whole thing.
Now the question begs itself: how did the bird learn that? Like, do you keep smoking?
Oh no! Yeah, I know. It's like how many meals do I burn? Yeah, someone had how many meals do I burn that he learned the smoke detector? And I go, no, that's JD.
Well,
I don't cook. I reheat.
There we go. The microwave.
But he does know the microwave sound too. So.
Well, it's like when Cookie and I, we like to get things well done too.
Right, yeah.
And when the smoke alarm goes off downstairs, we go, dinner's ready.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
You know it's done when the fire trucks start to pull
Exactly.
Glenn Fleming says studying is the easy part. Anyone can study. Getting it is another. Anyone might
it
get
is.
it. applying it as talent, and that's why most people are not
Right.
are not artists.
Yeah. I kind of look at it as like people who run marathons.
Yeah.
It's like it's even if you don't have to come in first to finish.
Right.
But you could come in last in a marathon and you've accomplished something that only like 0.001% of the population was able to do.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah. So it's like, and it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's like anybody, yeah, you can study. It's kind of like the people who world build for like decades and they never write their book. Right. You know, it's like, yeah, you can study and study and study, but if you don't actually apply it and really get to understand what is going on, it's like you're just futzing around.
You're putting it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, yeah.
And Mike Jimmy Lordship de Bruin says, my goal is always to put down the best thing I can on paper. After that, it's just bringing it out and see who wants it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, again, it's like, you know, the most important thing is to love what you do, and then the rest is gravy.
Exactly.
You know?
And Michaela J says, my next motivational book, The Path is Paved with Bodies Who Couldn't.
Absolutely. I mean, really. I mean, that if I had a definition, if I have a definition of success, it's making it this far.
Yeah.
And still, I mean, we go to conventions and there are people who are literally like, holy shit, you're still here.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's like, and mind you, and then what makes it worse is that I remembered you as a kid. You know, it's like, I was a kid. I first met you as a kid at a convention, and here you are. I'm grown with a kid of my own, and you're still here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
because you're in it to win.
Really, yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, that's really the thing. It's like, you're still here, and it's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, and this, you know, creative fields is not always a young person's, you know, playground, because you know, it is a playground. But the thing is, you know, you look at, you know, the Fantastic Four that kicked off an empire of publishing and movies, and Stan was, I think, in his early 40s when he did that, and Jack was in his mid to maybe late 40s.
Right. I mean,
when they launched the whole thing. Yeah,
I mean, because it's like it's literally a career of mastery. It's like, and you don't have that when you're in your 20s.
Exactly.
You barely have it when you're in your 30s.
Right.
So it's like, see, exactly. You know,
they have an audience. Whee!
Right? Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So this is really like literally, it's like, you know. Without giving anything away, it's like I feel like I'm just beginning to do my best work now. You know, because I needed those 30-something years to build on. Yeah. You know?
The 10,000 layups, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the whole 10,000 hours thing. It's like, you know, it's like, yeah, it's like it has to happen now because it could only happen now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. Historical Fencing Guild, Nick says, Daphne, what's the difference between doing work for a serial comic style and a more voluminous graphic novel for you?
Ooh, well, the thing is, though, I haven't done like a dedicated graphic novel where it's just one story in one sitting. So I kind of couldn't tell you what the difference is. But the thing is, though, is that all the work that I do eventually turns up into a trade, because it's like, in the end, it's like, I feel like even though it's all these individual issues, you really do need to read it in one setting. Yeah. You know, so I guess for me, the only difference between doing it as individual comics and then doing it like as a graphic novel is that I would think that with a graphic novel, I could just work straight through and not have to worry about issues per se, as opposed to just like, okay, this graphic novel is 128 pages. I have 128 pages to work with, as opposed to having to break everything up into like 32-page chunks that has like kind of like it has the splash page and like the ending splash page to kind of demarcate where that issue is starting. Right. So that would be like the only real difference I would say if I was doing a dedicated trade, is that I wouldn't have the 32 issue chunks. Right. You know, I would just be like, everything's together.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Lorcia de Bruin says, whenever I get someone saying I could do that on something, my only reaction is, but you didn't, so stop talking.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Then why aren't you? If you could do that, why aren't you? You know, instead you're coming over here trying to neg me with your nonsense, and it's like, no, if it's that easy, go do it.
Right, exactly. And the technology allows for it.
Right,
now.
Exactly. There's literally people doing comics that are just stick figures. So, yeah, you could do it, but you're not. Because it's like, even if we make it as easy as possible to you, you don't have the mindset for it. You don't have the wherewithal for it. You don't have the dedication for it. Because in the end, it's like you don't like it enough to do it. Or you're not interested enough to do it. And you know what? That's okay. Go do something you are interested in. We don't need more wannabes, clogging up the pipes.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Mike Jimmy goes on to say, want to give a creator a compliment, have their book bashed and battered from being opened a million times.
Real. Yeah, no, for real. I would love, really, to see people, that and that's the thing too. They bring like old copies of Tall Tales to us, and it's like, and you could tell they read the crap out of it. Yeah. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the most beautiful books are not the ones that are in pristine mint condition, but the ones that look, have the folds around the staples and the dings around the corners and everything.
Right, yeah.
You can tell they've been loved.
Right, exactly. Like I said, a slabbed book does nothing for me. It doesn't tell me anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Facebook user says, if anyone tosses your Kickstarter books into the corner, they are totally missing out. Totally agree.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And good morning, Brian and Daphne. Sorry I'm late. Albert, her husband is getting stitches out of his toe today.
Hope he's better. Yeah. That's not fun.
Not at all. And yes, I always write what I want to read.
Yeah, exactly. Make your own. Yeah, entertain yourself first.
Sure.
That's always the thing. And I think that was like a big lesson through lockdown. It's like how many people were bugging out because they didn't know how to entertain themselves.
Yeah.
And think about it. And it's like, if we're talking about like now we're entering a moment where a lot of studios are going on strike.
Yes.
Which means it's going to stop production on a lot of things. And it's like, hey, I'm not worried because I can entertain myself. Exactly. I can entertain myself. I don't need to be those people who were protesting in front of Disneyland because they wouldn't open because they were so desperate to be entertained and didn't know how to do anything else but go to Disneyland.
Right.
And depend on a company to do it for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, entertain yourself because somehow that's a subversive act. To be able to entertain yourself outside of a corporation's permission.
Exactly. Very good. Very well said.
Yeah.
Or wait for somebody, like.
Or you can look at independent comics. Look at all the independent comics that are willing to entertain you at this moment.
That's right. The folks that said pencils down. Yeah. We're the people that said hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, you go. All right, good. It's like that gives us more time to sneak our stuff in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pencils down. What is that?
That's a thing losers do.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
And Daphne, you are amazing.
Thank you.
Couldn't agree more. Scott Crocker says, reminds me of an old webcomic I read once where the first panel was an anthro cat petting a non-anthro cat, and when she figures it out, the fourth panel, her head explodes.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's like it's. It's kind of like there was also like a panel that someone had posted from a Disney comic where it's Minnie, and she's on a couch screaming because there's a mouse on the floor, and they're like going, "What?"
Or this whole, I've seen this debate of this whole slave-master relationship. With Goofy and
Pluto. Yeah, it's like, look, it's like really, it's like people gotta let it go. Stop thinking too hard about it.
That's right. It stops working after a while.
If your brain didn't stop at the talking animals thing, the rest you should be able to just move on from.
Exactly. And also, 30-minute warning, everyone. Let's start wrapping up so Brian could go feed Cookie.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, well,
they're watching out for you.
I do realize we have gone over the time allotted, but I'm grateful you're here,
Oh,
and
thank
we'll
you.
keep going as long as you're willing.
Well, I mean, it's like, look, you know what? There's always another opportunity to come back on the show. So why don't we, give people something to look forward to?
There we go. We'll just do save tips for somebody who's trying to run a Kickstarter for your trilogy. I will run comments. Why don't you answer that question?
Sure. Have it done. It's like,
easy.
I think, yeah, it's like it. I swear, don't be one of these people who's trying to finish their book during a Kickstarter. Don't do it. You're just putting way too much unnecessary stress on yourself. Have your books done and then run the Kickstarter, because then what you can tell people is that you can ship after the Kickstarter is done. No one's waiting 6 months for you to finish your book.
Yeah. In fact, I've made it a vow now to stop pledging to Kickstarters where we'll start the process once you give us the money, and I'm like, no, if you can't invest in your product, how much faith do you have in it?
Exactly.
And definitely check out Kara Nicole. She's got something.
She's there you go. Yeah.
And let's see, and they're having a discussion on Gays, Illinois. But that has nothing to do with it. It has to do with toilets. We're moving on from that.
Okay.
And we'll spare you that, Daphne. And the fanzine flashback game is so strong.
Yeah.
And Cindy Kemp, we're glad you're here. CKOEPP for the best newsletter in the business. And she's got appearances and friends. Please check it out. Please stop the video and take a screen capture because she's wonderful. And hybrids. I thought you said hi birds because Cindy's a bird mom.
Oh,
too.
there we go.
And also zombies and
look at all these books in the chat. I mean, it's like nobody has any excuse to say that they can't find anything.
Exactly. And there are people also in the chat who have written books that they haven't put links into their work yet, like Carl and Don and all. And Historical Fencing Guild says I can remember getting my comb binder was a major publishing investment.
I did had that too. All, like I said, cottage industry to the max back in the day.
Well, the second wave of my mini comics that I used to do in the early 90s, I did on a photocopier I bought for my home use.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. And Sarah, same with copying photos. You can't copy ones that have a professional photograph's name or symbol on because people try to copy pics from the samples not yet bought from the photographer.
Yeah, no, that was really strict too. Yeah, they were really strict about that too.
Most definitely. And we just had a comment dump here. We're getting through it. And let's see. Okay, Bear Publications. Definitely get her comic book, Animal Eye, if you like anthropomorphics. It's good stuff. And other stuff. And packages not yet bought with the samples. Until then, the pics still belong to the photographer.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And the Furry Trade Commission requires X amount of fluff and
Exactly.
Oh, and here we go. Daphne, we're going to send you to the drawing board on this one.
Okay.
Zombie furries. There's a lot that can come from that.
It's like, have you ever seen Roadkill?
That's true.
It's like, a lot of potential there.
Exactly. And everyone has to be equal. Sounds like the current climate today.
Right. And it was a Kurt Vonnegut story. So it's like, it's like,
I remember reading that. Yeah. And partial fur here on zombie. Wait, this goes back talking about the movie Zombies. No idea when things are popping up and linking together. It's cosmic stuff. And out of time. But anyway, don't forget to tip your host. Thank you. Bring Cookie home. Thank you. And Rising Tides newsletter. Thank you for that. You can get it right here. And check out her Patreon page at www.patreon.com, CKOEPP.com. And what was going on when it was posted? It was bad to post about online purchases of comics and various people posting about it. I'm confused.
That was a whole thing where people got all in their feels because they thought that it was people bragging about, look what I was able to spend money on and you couldn't. So it's like, look, it's like, you know what? Look. We all really got to ignore those people. These are people who are just there to just cause trouble no matter what, because it's like they got nothing to do and all day to do it, and they want to bother the people who are too busy to really deal with them. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Exactly. Keep creating and piss those people off.
Exactly.
That's how the cycle works.
The best revenge is finishing your comic.
Exactly. It's an act of rebellion, like Daphne said. And seriously, don't die. Feed Cookie. Thank you, Daphne, and everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. yeah, we're gonna save the right. Look, we can continue talking, but it's like, no, I know everybody got stuff to do. We got meals to eat. Hey, John, so yeah, we'll definitely do this again. We'll definitely do this
we
again.
definitely should. And pencils down from hundreds of ours that working from home anyway. What are they afraid of? Email viruses?
Right? Yeah, for real. Come on, there was no reason for that.
Yeah, and Historical Fencing Guild says, before it gets too late, I want to thank you for coming on, Daphne. Your art was and is so influential for my peak art discovery period. Brian is like having J. Scott and Campbell or Mike Mignola on. Hey guys,
thank you. See, that's what I'm talking about. You can't do that with a slabbed book.
Exactly. Oh, we found out who Facebook user is. It's Erin Casey of the Imagine Other Worlds with Authors. She's going to have a virtual con first weekend of November. I will be there. I asked about the Kickstarter tips. No idea why my info isn't popping up, because it's Facebook. That's why. And also fellow bird mom.
There you go. So you recognize it. You know it. The struggle is real.
Yeah, exactly. And we have finally caught up with the comments. Thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Letting me rush through them. And a big, big thank you to Daphne.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, we definitely have to do this again.
We are gonna. So I'm gonna give you the spotlight one more time. Tell people what you're up to, where they can follow you, and we'll take it from there. So Daphne, take the spotlight.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. You can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites. But I mostly post to Facebook if you're also seeing sketches and current work in progress and updates and whatnot. And you can also check out my YouTube channel for semi-weekly live streams and more parrot nonsense in the background. And also, you can read the first 5 issues of Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn in its original black and white format at egoworks.com. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, if you need your quota of furries to be a lot higher, you can follow the links to Tall Tales, TAILS online.com, and you can read the first 20 issues of Tall Tales for free. And also, don't forget to sign up for my monthly newsletter while you're there, so you can keep up to date with all of our campaigns that are coming up and all the new projects that we're doing, because it just keeps going. It's like, after doing this for 30 something years, you just don't stop. So, you can find everything at egoworks.com.
Definitely. And you definitely want to check this out. Also, the Kickstarter campaign going on right now in the last couple of days.
Yes.
It is fully funded, but this is your chance to get it and back editions too, correct?
Right, yes. It's the complete story so far. So it's the prequel and the first 3 issues. Issues 4 is also complete. So when that campaign launches in March, that book is done. I'm currently having issue 5 flatted right now, so that coloring is going to be done. So like I said, get all your books finished before you run a Kickstarter. It really saves you the stress, But yeah, so all my books are complete. And also, for those of you curious, the entire series is 15 issues. So yes. So if you're curious as to where, you're curious as to where this is going, it's a 15 issue series. Excellent. And we're up to issue 3 right now.
So you got a lot to look forward to, a lot of great work from Daphne Lage. Daphne, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm going to put you in the background here while we close out the show, and please stick around so I can say goodbye to you properly, okay?
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. And I'll take the spotlight because my ego demands it. Anyway, Daphne, if you need a bathroom break, I can give you about 3 or 4 minutes. Anyway, I forgot to say at the top of the show, first of all, I did want to say thank you to everyone for being here. And also, this show has been brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. This weekend I was at DeadCon in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I handed out a lot of plasma fire graphic cards because I tell them about the book covers that Jeffrey Hayes can do for you, as well as the graphics to help you sell it on social media, and beautiful book trailers, and how affordable he is. And he's got some work now. So anyway, if you want to get in the queue so that you can get all that great stuff, check him out on Facebook, Plasma Fire Graphics page. Also check out plasmafiregraphics.com, where you can contact Jeffrey Hayes directly. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it matters to your readers. And I was so excited to get Daphne on here. I forgot to mention my Patreon people. If you want to see your name on this card, among other treats, for a small monthly stipend, where you can support the Rising Tide mission directly, check us out at www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris and see the joys and beauty that awaits you there. Also, please check out the Rising Tide Broadcast Network shows. We've got your entertainment covered 7 days a week. Tonight will be Michaela Jade's Tidbits and Scribbles. Also, check out our morning motivationals every day, along with the new BK Minutes show. That thank you to everyone who's supporting that. We're glad you're enjoying them. And then tomorrow, TED Talks at 10 a.m. And then the Dastardly Dingoes, Brian, Clyde, and Jeremy will be on at 7 p.m. all times Eastern, because that's where I live. Y'all figure out where you live. And we've got your entertainment covered. So please check out the Rising Tide Broadcast Network Facebook page and give it a like. And so thank you to everyone who has tuned in today. We appreciate your being here. Wednesday's going to be a little different. We have yet to announce the plans for that day. But I will be definitely back on Friday with another episode of Nevermind the Furthermore. And we'll also be on Thursday night with Comic Book Spectrum. And also don't forget, tomorrow night, Clyde Hall of Comic Book Spectrum will be joining the Dingoes. So check them out at 7 p.m. tomorrow. As I try to scroll down to where I'm supposed to be. There we go. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you again to Daphne Lage for sharing her wisdom and her fun bird with her, with our audience today. So anyway, please join us again Wednesday for another episode, Nevermind the Furthermore. And remember, as always, stay smart. Stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Have a great Monday, everyone. We'll see you next time on Nevermind the Furthermore.
Thank you for watching Nevermind the Furthermore, a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. If you enjoyed any part of this show, please give it a like or a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and consider becoming one of our Patreon supporters. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Nevermind the Furthermore.